Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm here with Moheb Salemi, a UC David graduate with a degree in economics. Moheb is currently pursuing a post-bac program to prepare for dental school while working as a communications TA at Stanford. He always has had a strong passion for education and teaching, which continues to shape both his academic and professional journey. Moheb is one of the founders of the School of Freedom, which is a digital platform for Afghan girls in Afghanistan, and they also provide mentorship and tutoring for Afghan girls in the Sacramento Bay area. So now I will pass it to Moheb to share more about their work at School of Freedom.
Thank you, Jasmine, for the intro. As you mentioned, we're School of Freedom. I'd like to continue to let you know what our mission is. So basically, when we first started, our mission with everything that we saw happening in 2020, we really wanted to give the opportunity and give back to the Afghan community. So and it essentially wanted to provide accessible, culturally responsive education for Afghan girls banned from schooling under the Taliban rule and for refugees and newcomer youth in the US. So that we primarily do this through remote learning, after school tutoring, and community-based mentorship, and also give academic advising that centers around the dignity, safety, and opportunity for the Afghan students, while also mainly keeping in mind of their background and what hardships they may have face and come through when they were coming to the United States, or what they're currently struggling with still back in Afghanistan. Something we like to remind people is there's always a misconception of what's happening in Afghanistan. We're not we like to remind people the way they're viewing the way the Taliban is running everything, this isn't a proper representation of all Afghans and our faith and our culture. So like a quote that we like to not well, a statement like we like to remind people with the Prophet and the Islamic teachings that our Afghan culture is very centered around. Like the Prophet raised his daughters with love, honored and respected his wives, and stood for womanhood. And when the world stood against him, and his son of womanhood is not weakness, it's a pillar of strength. So that's something that's a foundational aspect in our nonprofit, and we like to always remind people who are not of Afghan background or know or are as informed of what's happening over there, to remind them this isn't representative of all Afghans, this isn't representative of all of our faith also. So this is what we're trying to re-educate people with and give them a proper view of what what Afghan people who Afghan people are and what our religion actually means. So the vision will be initially we like I said earlier, we want to build a place where Afghan girls and refugee youth are no longer left behind, and they are equipped with the knowledge, skills, and support to shape their own futures. A lot of our families came here as refugees. You guys, in the past 5 years, last 20 years, last 30 years, we've come here, and we've all gone through the hardships. We've all faced the uncertainty, and but we've thankfully we've made it through. So having our own background experiences, and we want to give back and help guide the newer refugees and newer people who are coming to America, and help them avoid those mistakes that we went through. So taking basically shape their own futures, but also giving that support. So through digital classrooms, inclusive advising, and the creation of a potentially a dual immersion charter school, we envision a education system without borders, rooted in freedom, and giving opportunity for the children. So some current projects just to get everyone updated on what we're currently working with right now. So we do have a tutoring and creative learning for girls. So we're part at the moment with the blackout happening, we have to postpone this at the moment, but we are planning on partnering. We have a US high school that we're going to be partnering with. Basically, it will be tutoring Afghan girls and mentorship and teaching them English and sharing art with teens in America. So we'll have a group of Afghan girls and that are in the high school age group working with American high school girls, and they'll basically just get together for a few weeks, once a week, and share art, practice their English with each other, and just get to experience some experiences with one another. of course, we'll have it under our teacher, all the teacher supervision and everything, and make sure and help have guided questions and have translators there just in case there are some English barriers. But that's one of the projects we're doing. Another project we are working on with is our community gathering in Elk Grove. We're going to hopefully bring people together in Elk Grove to listen, learn, and better understand how we could support families and students in more meaningful ways in the community. And that'll be primarily in the Elk Grove area. And also, we are currently working on our English and Craft Center. So we're trying to raise funds to create a center in Afghanistan where students can learn English and pick up new like skills like sewing, the skills that are more useful for people like in the villages or for women in that area that could make them money, and they could probably even whatever work they make or what they create they could send it to America. We could sell on their behalf and send the proceeds back to them for their own education or for their own livelihood, and also trying to get our ESL accreditation because even though we do a lot of all of our work in teaching, we want to have official accreditation for our ESL courses because they are in high demand, and having actual WASC accreditation, which is I forget the exact name for the acronym, the definition, but it is basically the California Accreditation Board that says that your ESL course is accredited and they qualify for it's official. They basically will get an official documentation saying that they've gone through an ESL course. So those are some of the projects that we're working on right now, and we're- they're moving, but we'll see how much longer it will take to get everything finalized. But as we continue, so this stuff for everyone to think about is what we think about also as a nonprofit. It's like try to identify key educational barriers faced by Afghan girls in Afghanistan and refugee youth in the US. We try to understand how diaspora-led programs like School of Freedom can address these challenges. We try to explore models of that are culturally responsive, advising, remote learning, and grassroots organizing. Also, recognize various college and career pathways for our new students that are finishing up high school and going thinking about starting college. So, some challenges and educational barriers Afghan newcomers face. So, the one would be disrupted prior education and language gaps. So, the age placement of education is is not done by testing in America. It's done by the age you come here. So with a lot of Afghan youth having a couple of years of gap in their education, when they come to the US, they're not tested for what they don't know. They're just said, you're 16, you're supposed to be in sophomore. You're supposed to be a sophomore in high school, while completely forgetting about the years of gaps in between their education because of the standstill and being cut off from education. So we want to help them with figure out where they fall into place into the system and help them become more familiarized with this new schooling system that is in America compared to how it is in Afghanistan. So figuring that out and helping fill in those gaps in their education, but also if they are older students, like show them options like trade school if university is not for them, because not everyone has to go to a four-year university to have a career or be successful. So showing them that there are alternative routes for education in America and helping them get access to those. And then also lack of cultural responsiveness in school. So a lot of schools there's a lack of education about what's happening in Afghanistan, and a lot of the new Afghans when they come here, there is un, you wouldn't say uneducated, but they're not as experienced with Afghan refugees, or they don't know enough of what happened over there. Trying to have the schools, because in heavily impacted areas like the Sacramento area or the Bay Area, where a lot of higher influx of Afghan refugees have come in, having the schools be prepared for the type of students that are coming in, understanding what they have gone through, understanding their background, understanding the differences, the slight differences in the culture. I think if they're better prepared for that, the schools and we help prepare the students, it'd be less of a shock for both people on both sides of understanding what's happening and how we could better address the students' educational needs instead of having this um, time wasted in trying to figure out understanding of the culture or why certain things have to be done a certain way. When if that's addressed, we could focus on the primary need of their education and helping them continue that education because they have a loss already, they've already lost time from their education. And also parents are very unfamiliar with the US school system like FAFSA or other college pathways. It's such an overcomplicated system for even American students. For me, myself, being born and raised here, going through the system, it's hard. It gets confusing. There's a lot of paperwork. And even though it's written in English, some of the stuff like the financial aid, it does not make sense even to me going through that process. So having that, and that you can only imagine how much harder that would be for someone when English is their third, second, or even fourth language. So giving that support, teaching them the way, teaching them how to get through those, do these applications, it leaves a lot of it leaves a lot of money that's left on the table, and a lot of the Afghans won't know how to get that for themselves or even have like scholarship opportunities. And also the emotional and mental health stress during transition. Like there's for some Afghans, it's a complete lack of support, and it's very overwhelming to learn everything at once. You're trying to get settled into a new country, settled into a new school system, learn a new language, and that's a very overwhelming process. And then just to be there and give them some support of someone that's familiar with their language and familiar with their culture and what they have gone through, is very beneficial for them and it's very helpful for them. And then just being vulnerable to being influenced and start using drugs. Um, there are some personal experiences that we've encountered with them having mental health crises and starting to use drugs and using that to cope with it, and they didn't know how to get drug addiction support or help and or just even to tell them the signs of just avoid this, don't do this, is not good. Of don't do these things, it's not going to be healthy for you at all in any way. So they're very vulnerable because of this stressful process and this transition that they are going through. So, what does School of Freedom do? In this sense? So, we like to partner with the school districts to offer after-school advising with FAFSA help and mentorship, um, advising the refugee youth on community college versus four-year university track, and other career pathways, like I said, like trade school or even other career pathways that don't require any more schooling. And then we also offer peer advising with college students who were once an ESL students or refugee students, like a lot of the some of the UC Davis students that we've helped and help start this and help volunteer, or like especially Wally John also he came here from Afghanistan while I was born here in the United States, so he has a different understanding of how to help people versus I have a different understanding of my process and my background experiences of going through the school system. So even small things like that make add up and make a difference to help the students. And we try to help run workshops in Dari and Pashto. Yes, Dari and Pashto isn't the only languages that are spoken there, but it is as inclusive and as far we can try to get at the moment. The more help we can get through advertising our nonprofit, the more languages and more diverse backgrounds that we can include and help expand our reach to help people. So some challenges that and educational barriers that Afghan girls face. So the very obvious one, the worst one, it would be they're banned from school beyond sixth grade and under the Taliban rule, and that limits them so to such an extreme amount where what do you do after that sixth grade? There are some of the students we've had, well, we've shared like heard the stories of they want to get held back. They don't want to be tested out of sixth grade. They want to stay in school. They want to continue their education, but because of this forced requirements on them and this having this gender apartheid in place, it's just terrible, and they can't go anywhere past that. So, but also while they're at school, while they do like alternative schooling systems and formats like School of Freedom, you're running into the risk of being monitored and accessing online content like this, trying to get help from outside sources like from a lot of nonprofits from the United States. So we could even see right now how they had the internet cut off, the blackout. W- Just I don't even thought that was a possibility. They just completely shut the internet off, and we've lost all contact with a lot of people, family members, students, just everyone. It's been cut off. So it's being monitored, and it's a very it's just dangerous for everyone, for all parties that are involved. The also just a psychological toll of isolation and erasure of the girl's identity of being told you can't do anything after sixth grade or even be allowed out. So that toll is a major thing people don't even think about. Is just that isolation of telling someone your voice shouldn't be heard after a certain time, or you shouldn't even be your voice shouldn't be heard at all. So you lose these opportunities of like sharing yourself or expressing yourself in any shape or form. That's why we have like the project with like the students' art and being able to talk about their experiences with other women and just have that companionship and building bonds and friendships, which is just a human need. And then there's the unfortunate thing of limited or unstable internet access. A lot of people think like, well, even what we're doing right now, having like a Zoom call, having the slides running, having different like canvas for the kids. Like you have to take into account that there a lot of these kids are working off their phone or their devices aren't as compatible with what we have over here and we think is normal to run and have educational like learning done through. You have to keep in mind that their phones aren't compatible with this. So having to adjust and create a infrastructure that is mindful of what the technology capabilities are over there and being able to accommodate for that. And then there are the issue of being forced into early marriage. You're not going to school, you're staying at home. There's no work. We have to get you married off if for some that's the unfortunate case for some people. And that leads to the next point of like being denied to choose their own futures and professions. Like the students, we've had students that were like volunteers that are helping us out, like the older students, they were in medical school and they've been completely they were just kicked out of medical school. They couldn't continue education. They couldn't leave to go anywhere with scholarship or anything. So you just denied an entire like person who's worked their entire life in medical school, trying to be a doctor, trying to give back to the very community that's cut them off. So that's just you're just stripping them of their basic human rights and freedom of expression. Not saying that they're taking they're taking everything away in the sense that it's like you're not giving them the option to, or even like the proper they claim this is like an Islamic thing that they're giving, but they're not even following the fundamental rules of their freedom to be able to choose and the emphasis that we have if you want to go from like a religious standpoint of on education and giving women their own rights and their equal rights from an Islamic standpoint. So this is not even following the religion correctly in the sense in that sense. So that isn't right in all aspects. And then if there's no school, like I said, they could be married into at a young age. And this is just some art from some of our students that they've sent over to us. This just show that like the creativity we're getting rid of. We're like not weird, but we're not letting these people like express themselves, have an outlet. And the only people that they've been able to send some art to is some us, some of the volunteers, other teachers that they have. Like they're just so excited to share their art and like express them and get some validation for like the like simple things of drawing this picture. So we try to like have them, hey, send whatever art you have or poetry you're making or whatever, send it to us. We'll read it for you. We'll try to share it and get it out there for you. So this is just some of the small uh, three art pieces that we had that we could fit on one slide. I could have five more slides of just artwork that they have sent to us. So these are three I like a lot. So I wanted to share this with everyone also. So what's the rule of School of Freedom? Like from the last one, the challenges of what's happening in Afghanistan. So we offer free online classes, and basically we're continuing on the curriculum of the previous Afghan regime of what the schools had. So in addition to a little bit of American curriculum to keep in mind for some of the credits if they in the future they could be qualified and get that to them, official diplomas. So offer free online classes in literacy, math, English, and the sciences. We connect girls with Afghan female mentors at the UC level from primarily from UC Davis, but they're all tutors that are Afghan, so they have someone they could feel comfortable with to speak with, and they are other they're women who's teaching them, so they have that type of mentorship and leadership they could look up to. Um, we try to provide safe spaces, supportive spaces for the learning and growth. um, we try to host this everything as much as we can in Dari and Pasha workshops on women's rights and on leadership. That's where we got the idea for like the cultural center in Afghanistan, where they could work on like crafts and skills that are valuable to them, well, they could to make a livelihood, but also like give them that safe space where they could hopefully come together, be able to learn English, be able to take their classes, have Wi-Fi if they don't have that access to stuff like the internet or a computer. And the goal is to create a safe space for them in the future. So that's something that we are working on and trying to figure out how that will go. And then supplies, school materials, and internet access where it's needed. So we have been fortunate to get donations of devices. The only issue we get is that they're donated here in the US. So trying to send that overseas to the teachers that we could get the computers and laptops to. It's been much easier just to send money over. But if we have like brand new, like we have laptops and stuff, so trying to get the logistics of figuring out how to send that to them. And then just advocating for girls' education and empowerment is the biggest thing that we're trying to do is like spread the awareness, teach the people what's happening, educate the people that on what is wrong with the situation and how we could fix it. Because not some people think, oh, this is just how this is how it is over there. No, no, this has been decades of war and so many other variables that have come into play and have like deteriorated and broken down the culture and the customs and the religion of in that area. So educating people on the actual history of what happened and how we got to this point is very important. And at the same time, trying to like give back the power and empower the girls that are learning. Like I said, why this matters, education is their only like pathway to freedom, and that's being erased completely from them. So a lot of like over back home, the education is not just your escape, but also it gives you all the opportunities in the world. You could get scholarships if they want to go out the country. They could get scholarships. Then they would, if they could be able to get their education, they could come back and give back to their communities, their villages, and educate the next generation. So girls are not just being denied their schooling, but their voice, their own choices, and their future. And for like something that's very important to even like us volunteers, we talk about like the importance of having our mothers in our lives and having mothers that were educated in our lives, how much that impacted us and how much that shaped our futures. So just giving that the whole family dynamic is being deteriorated in Afghanistan and people don't realize that. So the importance of having educated mothers and having that for the future is very important. And you're having half the population be cut off from from the world is never good in any shape or form. If you no matter how you try to spin it, it's not good. It's only going to lead to more problems, only going to lead to more issues in the future for them. Um, so like I said, being forced into early marriages, they're denied the dreams of becoming doctors and teachers. Like I gave the example of a lot of the girls that were in medical school cut off. Um, when we teach girls, we protect generations from being silenced and being forced to be dependent and not have their form of their own little bit of independence. So this is not just a crisis; it's a national heartbreak for the Afghan who have the values of dignity and hope. So we got to give back the girls back their dignity and give them a little bit of hope because we've seen how much like Afghan women here in the US how much they've been able to excel, how much they're able to give back to the community, how much they're able to do for all Afghans as a whole. So if you're taking away from that much from just from Afghanistan, but also from Afghans here in the West also. And I think it's something that people don't realize is the double-edged sword. These people have so much to want they want to offer. It's a passion for them, and you're stripping that away from them. So um, we want to help advocate for that and educate people on how they can help, like grassroots organizations like us, or even hopefully we could even motivate other students if they come up with like other people in the West, they come up with something better or a complete alternative for this. So it's just to ignite that passion of working and trying to help back and give back to the community for us. And like you said, like these a lot of students when they come here to US, they arrive here with dreams of resilience. So, but without support, like the students that come to America, they'll fall through the cracks and like you can break under the pressure or like unfortunately like the personal experience like fall towards drugs or the wrong crowd because they were just denied and no one really cared for them. So we can't have that happen. They face a new language, a new system, and often feel invisible. So even I myself, English wasn't my first language growing up. Having that experience of not being able to connect or speak with other students around me, I was afraid to even communicate or express myself. So I understand what that feeling is of not being able to talk with people and have that ability to connect with someone. So it's challenging and it's even harder when you come to from a whole new country without any support. So the education just gives them a little bit of to help them rebuild their identity, their confidence, and the sense of belonging while empowering them and empowering entire Afghan families and communities to thrive in this new country. So, like we said, the it's not just about the education, it's about building them and giving them that confidence as a person that they could take care of themselves and take care of their family in a new country. So that's what we hope to offer and give to them, just that piece of confidence that'll help them continue and not just continue, but thrive. So thank you.
All right, so thank you so much, Moab, for that incredible presentation. I think especially today with the internet and the phone shutdown in Afghanistan, it's even more of an indication of how important this work that you're doing really is.
Mhm.
And I wanted to just ask a few questions to learn more about the work that you're doing. And again, I know some of these questions were put together pre-internet shutdown, so
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sure
fine.
that things might change. But one of the questions I was wondering about is how your organization establishes and maintains connections with the students. So, like, how do they hear about you? How do you get
Yeah.
connected?
So initially, we started off with Walid. He saw was on the funny story. He was on TikTok, saw the school of the girls like their school being shut down, and he was just talking to his brother. It's like, what if we started a school? And he was like, wait, what if we actually did start a school? And so he created a Facebook post basically on Facebook saying, or Meta now, but we have a school, and he like an interest list of if anyone would be interested. He had within like the first few weeks, he had almost over 1,000 responses to it of yes, we want something. So we that was the initial need that was established for building the online school. So at the moment, so the current infrastructure, we are in the process of rebuilding it to make it more accessible for Afghans in Afghanistan. But at the moment, we do use like what we're doing now is Zoom classes primarily, Google Meets, Google Classroom. We do have like our Google Drives that we post lectures or videos or notes for like students to go on to. And we also like take their daily attendance for the classes for the teachers so we can see how much the teachers are actually being involved and also assessments for the students to make sure some of them are learning something. So we do have those metrics set up for testing and making sure the kids are getting benefiting a little bit from our classes. Um,
Yeah.
all
And
yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
And then also like local coordination with like volunteers from Afghanistan, like students, like teachers that were women that were cut off because they're women they can't be teaching anymore, or even medical students, and then people who just want to help out, helping us out in Afghanistan and our families also.
Mhm. That's great. And I was wondering too about kind of like the age range of the students that you're working with and
Yeah.
how often do they have classes? Is it like a traditional schools? I'm assuming
Hmm.
it's not, but where they're seeing
Yeah.
every day or
So the way it works at the moment is the age range is from, you could say, 13 to 14 to around 18 years old. So that high school range, the typical high school range for kids. And the way we meet, they have their scheduled classes, and because it depending on with the teacher schedule and the volunteer schedule, majority of the classes are in the evening because some of the teachers have second jobs, and this is all on volunteer basis. So they're gonna be in the evenings, and they have the link for the certain classes and their schedule that they have, and they just join the classroom through Zoom, and we take their attendance, and they go as class would be normally here, like any classroom, and then that's how it is for all the classes at the moment. Or if there's any recordings, they go watch the recordings and go with that.
great. And I was also wondering a bit about what strategies y'all are using to ensure that the this initiative stays safe and
Hmm.
that I guess that it wouldn't, that it wouldn't go on like the Taliban's radar. Like how are you avoiding that?
So with a lot of like the communications, their WhatsApp is secured, or they have I'm blinking one of the apps that we do use.
Like no,
Everything is there's only Walid and I have the full knowledge of what the t students' names are, who their access is. So, and we give out the links specifically ourselves after we like vetted, make sure that everyone it's safe for them. So that's how we go about the privacy, and also for like the devices, and then we monitor the platforms and devices to make sure that it's all safe for the privacy of the student. And then the teachers, we let the teachers know for the teacher's safety, because it's like how the best way to describe it, for the teachers, it's dangerous for them to help provide, so they do as much as they can on their behalf to keep us hidden and from the government and everything, for their own safety, and even for the students and their own families that are, because they are being supporting them with their education. Everyone is working together as a group to make sure that never gets out, and primarily it falls onto in our own hands of making sure we do our own background check and research before we give access to anyone.
yeah, thank you so much for sharing. And I'm curious too, in what ways do you see diaspora-led initiatives influencing the future of education for girls in Afghanistan or in other regions too, where education might not be accessible?
Yeah, well, diaspora communities bring both like resources and their own lived experience when it comes to situations like this. So like it bridges the culture. Like for someone like me, for example, I was born and raised, but I am connected to my Afghan culture, and or like someone like Walid, who was born in Afghanistan and came to the U.S. So this diverse backgrounds and understanding of we need to create sustainable opportunities for the Afghan people. So that's a big thing for us, and that's like I think that's the biggest thing we do for diaspora. I think that's the biggest thing diaspora-led initiatives are giving back. And then also just keeping global attention on marginalized students like this to amplify their voices, because we're obviously internet blackout. No one else will be able to speak for them except for the people like us who is trying to take this initiative to help and give them back that access and that freedom. So just stay connected to your roots and help support diaspora led like teaching projects and models as much as you can.
Absolutely. Thank you. And how can people support your work? How can individuals or institutions support the work that School of Freedom is doing? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, at the moment, I know I don't think anyone expected having entire country be cut off from the internet. So just to have advocacy for bringing back the internet at the moment would be great. And then also just providing financial support to help access to like laptops, Wi-Fi, and safe learning spaces. Because as much as we could get the devices here in the US, it's also cost a lot of money to ship those out over there, and vice versa, getting them the devices over there, giving it to the students, and just having, and a lot of this is on a volunteer basis, so giving them a little bit of a financial incentive to like for their time and commitment that the teachers are giving to the students to give them back a little bit of money because they have their own families and they have other jobs that they're working. So this is just out of their own like love and to give back to the kids. So helping out with their salaries and keeping the operations going on that sense. And then also just sharing the mission and building awareness and building stronger networks and opportunities for the girls.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed speaking to you today and learning more about the School of Freedom. Again,
Yeah.
it's such important and incredible work that you're doing, and I'm sure that the girls that you're working with also feel happy that there's someone who's advocating for them, who's speaking
Yeah.
on these issues that they're all affected by. And I know it's incredibly important that we continue to talk about what's going on, especially for people who can't have their own voices heard.
Mm.
Yeah, I really appreciate you taking the
Thank you.
time to
No,
speak
thank you
to
for
me.
giving us this opportunity and reaching out and helping us throughout this entire process.
Of
It's been fun.
course.
It's been great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.